Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome back to the Airbus A350-1000. Today we're flying from iniBuild's brand new and upgraded London Heathrow Premium in FS 2024 over to Denver, which is not only a high elevation airport, but it's also going to make our flight highly interesting. Now, follow me inside as we're about to start up our A350-1000. We start with the basic safety checks over here, and then we're going to power the aircraft up. Now, what I want to put a little bit of focus on today is going to be our ground services and GSX integration. So, powering the aircraft up, let's give it a little while, and while that's ongoing, let's already go over into the ground menu and the GSX menu, and let's go ahead and request the catering services so that they can slowly start to work on our aircraft. Let's also go ahead and connect the jetway, and it looks like it's connecting to our one left door, so let's go ahead and ensure that that is actually opened. Now, while that's going on, we can also do some of the basic services here, such as the ship truck. So let's go ahead and toggle the lavatory service, and we also want to run the water service. Both of those. Alright, while the basic services are now arriving for our A350, it's time for us to go ahead and start to have a look into our flight plan. So here it is, our classical sim brief plan. We're departing Heathrow, crossing Dublin and then out to the Atlantic Ocean, just about hit the southern tip of Greenland, and then we're eventually going to set course via Winnipeg towards Denver. Now, today's significant weather chart is rather unspectacular for the first part of our flight. A little bit of turbulence over here over Greenland, which is quickly gonna go away. And we are crossing a few jet streams which are all located far below us until we eventually make it into the United States, where we're crossing another jet stream, which again is quite a bit below us. So overall, we are expecting a very nice flight today. If you go into the weather information, we can see good conditions at Heathrow, and over in Denver we also have good weather, and the forecast is very good for the entire time as well. The same applies to our first alternate, Salt Lake City. So overall, very good conditions for today's flight. If we take a look into our flight plan, however, we can see that if we depart on time, we even land an hour ahead of schedule. So it couldn't be any easier. With all of that in mind, the fuel decision is a rather easy one. 65.5 is the minimum. Let's add 500 kilos, 66 tons of fuel, and that's gonna be what we'll take. So, once our catering services are completed, we can go ahead and start our boarding. In the meantime though, let's go down here and into the flight ops menu, where we can import our SimBrief flight plan, and then down into the load sheet, where we can also import the SimBrief data, set the zero fuel weight, and then set our fuel load as 66 tons, like this. Alright, set fuel, everything set, perfect. We'll come back to the rest in a few moments. For now, the airplane has powered up, so let's turn off the batteries, check our voltages, which are looking good. Then we can turn the batteries back on, the IRS is coming on, the cockpit lights are set. Then we can do our aircraft acceptance, so hit the recoil for 3 seconds, and that's looking excellent. Dispatch page isn't there just yet, but with those done we can do the fire test and then continue with the startup of the APU. Alright, so while the APU is starting, we are gonna go right back down into our OAS and in here ensure that the flight plan is loaded. So then we can go into the en route charts, ensuring that those have actually loaded. So let's just zoom out like all the way for now, and here we go. Alright, now we know that at least we have some basic chart data available at any given time. Alright then, takeoff performance, and we can synchronize the SimBrief departure runway here, Heathrow 09 right, and then we can also synchronize the weather, which is 01089, 7 degrees QNH 1008. We'll do a Conf 2 takeoff, since we've got the long A350, the 1000, and air conditioning off. Compute. And our performance limited weight is 337. Our expected takeoff weight 260, so there's no problem at all with that. Finally, let's go over to our terminal charts and prepare our chart clip. So we can take the aerodrome ground chart, then we can take the aerodrome parking charts, and I do believe it's terminal 5A and B that we are at. Yep, 536 is our gate, so let's go ahead and pin that one. Finally then, let's go ahead and find our SID chart, and we're flying the Compton 5 Juliet departure today, so that should be this one over here. Yep, that's looking good, so let's pin this one as well. Looks like our boarding is looks like our aircraft is ready for boarding. APU has completed the startup. Let's go to APU Econ mode here for a little while, save a little bit of fuel, and then we can go ahead and commence our boarding. So, request boarding, and off we go. So, they should connect the ground equipment in a few moments here, with our loaders about to arrive, and when that is done, boarding can also commence. As a final step to prepare for our boarding, let's have a quick look. Refueling is finished, 66 tons, so the fasten seatbelt signs can go on, and the emergency exit lights gotta be armed by the time that our boarding commences. Well, and that's that. So, we do have sufficient oxygen, rain repellent is looking good. Small look into the hydraulic systems, which are completely full, that's awesome. And then the engine oil quantity is pretty full as well. Wonderful. Alright, so we can turn that back off. So, flaps and speed brakes are up retracted, and the brake accumulator pressure is looking good, and all of that agrees with our flight deck indications. Wonderful. So with that out of the way, let's go right into our cockpit preparation procedure. Looks like they have started or are about to start loading as well. That's wonderful. The tuck is already connecting, so things are gonna go quick. Once boarding is complete, that's looking very good. Services are going very, very well today. I like it. That doesn't happen all the time, so it is worth mentioning. Okay, so let's see. The QNH is 1008. Then let's make sure that that is set on the ISIS. Can also dim it a little bit since it seems rather bright to me. Okay, 122-800 is going into COM 1 and 121-500 into COM 2. Listen and transmit on VHF 1, also listen to VHF 2 and to the interphone, the cabin interphone and the PA system. Looking excellent. Thrust levers idle, engine master levers off, start selector norm, and TCAS on to above. We are doing an odd flight number today, so system number 1 is selected. Very good. And then we can set up our RMP as well. Alright, and that's pretty much anything we could do down here. So with that out of the way, let's go right into the FMS setup. A350-1000 Trent XWB, the nav database is slightly out of date actually. Let's go ahead and check that one. So menu, options, third party, and Navigraph 1502 is selected. Let's just hit update in here to be completely sure that we do have that data in our FMS. So just give me aircraft status again. Here we go. Alright, nav data is up to date. Wonderful. Then company flight plan request. And it should arrive any moment now. Here we go. Company flight plan received and insert. Speedbird 219 Victor, Heathrow to Denver, alternate Salt Lake City. Flight level 240 is wrong though. We are going up to level 360 straight away. And then let's go ahead and find ourselves some weather conditions for level 360. So, level 360 by Craigie, then that's minus 55 degrees and the tropopause in 32,000. So minus 55 is okay, and tropopause 32,000. Nope, that's a bit low. 32000. Alright, that's better. Company wind data request. Custom X20 is checked. Slight tailwind for the flight, but overall very even wind here. Okay, wind data is uplink. Then our IRSs will be available in 1 minute, are aligning. For the departure, we're going off Heathrow runway 09 right, and our SID is the Compton 5 Juliet, which we can insert over here. And then a very quick check. On the charts, we go straight at 2 DME London, right and turn, intercept 281, inbound to Woodley. So pretty much like what we have over here. So then we pass 10 DME London, respectively 17 DME from Compton above 3000. Then we have Woodley above 4000. We continue inbound, passing 8 DME at 6000. And then we continue on towards Compton at 6000 as well. And that's that. Wonderful. Alright, now let's have a look into Denver and the expected arrival into Denver, which is runway 16 left for the time being with the alley 3 arrival. So runway 16 left, approach ILS, star alley 3, and we are arriving from Nitro. So transition Nitro. Alright, and insert that. Now let's go back to our nav data, nothing in here. Fuel and load. For that, let's see the load sheet. We're looking at 195.6 and 30.5. So 195.6 and 30.5. 66 tons fuel. We have 331 passengers on board. And then let's have a quick look into the fuel figures. So alternate 6.5, final reserve 2.6. So 6.5 and 2.6. I'll leave the taxi fuel untouched for the time being, and we can now go ahead with our takeoff performance. So we'll take that right from down here, send to FMS, and here we go, confirm takeoff speeds. And that's all looking good, except for the engine out acceleration, which is going to be in 1600. Okay, so that's set. Then position monitor. Echo Golf Lima Lima 09er right. Then onto the flight plan and the step altitudes. Okay, so our first step climb is going to be to flight level 380 at 50 degrees west. Let's find that in the list. 50 west, flight level 380. Our next step climb is at Gaboff, flight level 400. So let's find that one in the list. Here we go. Gaboff, flight level 400. Right, temporary and insert. Then let's go onto the fix info page, and we are departing off Heathrow, runway 09 right. Enter, and then we can have a look at our runway track, which is 089 degrees, and draw the extended center line. So 089. Alright, now let's create our engine out waypoint, and for that we can go for a new waypoint. That's going to be LHRX2. Enter, and that's from Heathrow runway 09 right on a bearing of 089, and the distance of 25 nautical miles. Right, store waypoint, and back onto the fix info page, and then fix 2. And in here we are looking at LHRX2. Alright, perfect. So that stuff is in. Then finally, let's go into the secondary. Import active, flight plan. So insert next waypoint, and that's going to be the emergency waypoint we just created, London Heathrow X2. And we can insert a holding over there as well with a lag time of 1 minute. And then finally, new destination, Echo Golf Lima Lima. Arrival, runway 09 right via an ILS. And that's our engine out flight plan now also created. Now finally, let's go back into the active flight plan. And onto the fuel and load page, and it still shows us with minus 1.9 tons of fuel, but that is going to solve itself once we're airborne. I'm fairly sure about that. The data we've entered is correct, 195.6, 30.5 and 66 tons. Just a quick gross error check over here. So OFP, takeoff weight 260.9, and we have 261.6, so that's absolutely okay there. Alright, so that's our flight plan entered. Then let's go ahead with the rest of our flight deck setup. So that's 1008, we can set the EFIS control panel, we can set our FCU. And we can load up the airport navigation function. This is going to take a little while, as Heathrow is a fairly complex airport, so let's just give it those seconds until it has loaded the airport. And here we go on both sides. Excellent. So what else is there to do? You can have the flight plan. We have completed our FMS setup. Then we can do the oxygen test. Ground from flight deck. Mind your ears, oxygen test. Well, still works a tad different in the real world, but we'll just accept it as that. Okay, wonderful. So, let's see. The cargo doors are closed already, so they have finished the loading. Well, then let's go ahead with our departure briefing. Okay, thank you. So we're departing London Heathrow, runway 09 right. We've got the Compton 5 Juliet departure, initial to 6000. And we have extra fuel of basically 0. Alright, thank you very much. We don't have any hotspots for our taxi routing. Stop margin is basically 0, so we are rather go-minded today. In case anything happens, if we have to make an immediate return, we are around 40 tons above the maximum landing weight, just to have that in the back of our minds here. 30 tons actually. And we have programmed an ILS approach 09 right in the secondary flight plan. If things need to go really, really quick, which is basically only for a fire that we cannot extinguish, then we are going to come back with an overweight landing. If time is available, we do the overweight landing procedure anyway. If no time is available, just start the APU, get the APU bleed going. And that's all we need to do here. Okay, do you have any questions, comments or suggestions? No? Alright, wonderful. And that's our departure briefing complete. And we can do the B4 star checklist down to the line, please. So, gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity 66 tons. Takeoff data set. Barrel reference QNH 1008. B4 star checklist complete, down to the line. Alright, ADSC connected. Let's see, nothing in the message record. And finally, the surveillance page is set up. Perfect. Alright, so let's go down here. Very quick check of what GSX is up to. Let's disable the integration here and go up here. That shows us Alright, 279 of 331 passengers boarded, so it is going to be a short while until we can continue with our flight deck setup. And here we go. As you can see, boarding has been completed. So first of all, let's turn the APU out of econ mode. Technically speaking, you're not supposed to use that during boarding as well, but 6 degrees outside, so I wanted to get a little bit of air into the cabin, but not too much, in order to conserve a little bit of fuel here. Alright then, our schedule was at 20 if I'm not totally mistaken. At 25, alright, so we are just a couple minutes late, that's good. Let's then say hello to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emanuel in the name of British Airways. Welcome aboard flight 219 to Denver. Today's flight time will be approximately 9 hours. We expect a smooth flight and some excellent views of Greenland and later on northern Canada along our flight path. We would like to welcome you again on board our British Airways Airbus A350-1000, and for the time being, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. We will get back to you with the latest weather once we're approaching Denver Airport. Thank you very much for your attention. Alright, my apologies to all my British friends for that accent, but here we go. So, let's see, our final numbers are 195.6 and 30.5. So we've got 195.6, 30.5, 66 tons of fuel, which is correct, and then let's just update our takeoff data real quick here, which remains unchanged. Alright, very good. So then let's just synchronize the takeoff data with the FMS one more time, and confirmed. Alright, and then we are ready to go. So, GSX, control, prepare position for pushback and departure, please. Ground flight deck, go ahead. So, parking brake is set, you can remove the chocks and the ground power unit, please. Thank you, Captain, that's all removed. Alright, thank you very much, we're getting pushback clearance. Okay, before start checklist below the line, please. Doors. Closed. Park and brake. Set. Before start checklist complete. Okay, ground flight. Go ahead. So, we clear to push, and we are going to face south on Bravo, please. Alright, south on Bravo, release park and brake, please. Brakes released, off block at 31. 6 minutes late, and yeah, you decide on what you want to put it on. As long as it isn't the crew. So we're about to clear the line over here. So let's see, the nose is coming off to the left from this side, so you are gonna be the one dying behind our engines later on. Alright, so be it. So ground flight, we're starting engines 1 and 2 in that sequence. Clear 1 and 2. So we've got to wait for 10 seconds here for our engines in order to avoid any dispatch messages that might ground our aircraft. Real world 350 bug. And then engine 1 start. You're not exactly living a very healthy life down there either. Oh well, I have a feeling we better just don't comment on those GSX gentlemen here. Okay, so number 1 is looking very good. Right, ground flight, we've got a good start in engine number 1, starting engine number 2. Clear 2, and the push is complete. Set your brakes, please. Brake set. Engine 2 start. So look at that, he's actually at work. At least pretending to do something. Alright, so removing the gear pin down there. Alright, so here comes the tuck. Then we should see the gentleman on the left hand side in a few moments. And that's it. Engine start is going very nice as well. Ground flight, so we've got 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect, show me the pin on the left please. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Alright, thanks for connecting, and see you on the left-hand side. Bye-bye. And there he is, pin in the hands. Perfect. After start checklist, please. Anti-ice. Off. After start checklist complete. Okay, flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right. And neutral. Alright, we're clear on the left side, we are clear on the right side. We are not surprised that we only see 2 persons walking over there and not 3. And with that, let's taxi holding point, runway 09. Alright. Brake is released. Heavy aircraft at 260 tons, so no surprise that we are not rolling on idle. And the taxi routing is fairly straightforward. Straight ahead over here, to the right on Bravo, and then down there to the holding point 09, alright. Interesting that iniBuild placed the welcome announcement now. The captain really shouldn't say anything while the aircraft is taxiing, but that's just, you know, a little side note here. Okay, brake check. Brakes okay. And I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. We're clear on the left side, we're clear on the right side. Okay, so A350-1000, very long aircraft, so we have to apply quite a bit of oversteering. So, 10 knots. And here we go. Let's check what we're doing from the outside. Yeah, could have oversteered even a little bit more, huh? Okay then, before takeoff checklist, down to the line please. Flight controls, checked. Flight instruments, checked. Briefing, confirmed. V1, VRV2, thrust rating, 155, 158, 164, flex 55. And squawk, set, before takeoff checklist complete, down to the line. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. So, nobody in front of us. I like that. Doesn't happen too often in Heathrow. So, 09 right, line up and wait. We're not allowed to take off with the ANF active, so let's get rid of that. So let's get that speed reduced a tad here, 10 knots. Of course, this is a rather tight taxiway, as you can see. And now our oversteering is looking a lot better. Center line is exactly beneath the fuselage, in the middle of the gear. That's how we want to see it. Alright, before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway, 09 right, full length, cabin crew, advised, packs, off, before takeoff checklist complete. Alright, are you ready? And the lights are on. Takeoff. Manflex 55 SRS runway auto thrust blue. Thrust set. I think to date this is the heaviest 350 we are taking off with yet, 100 knots.
V1.
Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. Autopilot 1. I want to have a good look outside at the city of London today. So let's make the autopilot do some work for us. Thrust decline, climb auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Flap 0. Speed checked. Flap 0. After takeoff checklist down to the line, please. After takeoff checklist down to the line complete. Beautiful aircraft. With the city of London right behind us, that's awesome. That's really awesome. So, we no longer need the chronometer since we are in climb thrust already. We always have our flight timer running down here. If you're wondering about the difference, the flight timer starts the time from the moment we actually lift off, while we of course start the chronometer during our takeoff run in order to time the time at which our engines are at takeoff thrust. So, according to the chart, we should proceed on a 281 inbound to Woodley, and that looks pretty accurate to me. Let's continue our climb to flight level 100. Open climb, alt 10,000 blue. And the reason I'm going for open climb here is because I'm too lazy to delete all those restrictions. Of course, we could and should do that if we have time available, but you can just go open climb as well. Climb above the highest restriction that limits you, and then just go back to manage. Or just stay in open climb. Works as well. So, engine anti-ice on. Engine anti-ice is on. Set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 65 now. Checked, and off the takeoff checklist below the line, please. Barrel ref, standard, set. After takeoff checklist complete. Alright, so we've made it out of London. Just to show you, since we're above the altitude restrictions now, if I just go back to manage, then the aircraft will continue the climb automatically. So let's go up to something like flight level 200 or so. Typical British weather, isn't it? Right through the clouds. Okay. So, we're almost reaching flight level 100. You can see down here the aircraft complains that it can't make the flight level 60 restrictions, but that's of course intentional, and that's how the system should actually work. So, I think we can brighten our displays a little bit. Same goes for you over here. And then we're passing 10,000. Lights off. Let's wait a little bit with the passenger signs here. You can come on to the weather as well. And EFIS CPs are set. So, nothing in the nav 8. And we have optimum flight level 364, maximum flight level 380. So 360 is actually quite a good cruising level for us. Alright, well, and that's this. Now, at this point we normally get a good little direct, so let's see what ATC has in stock for us today. And I think... let's see. I think Vatry is a good point to fly direct to, isn't it? Now, once you're outside of the immediate terminal area in London, something like that could actually be expected. So let's go Vatry. We'll take the beam point so that we can do fuel checks on the way up here and insert. Now, where's the beam points? Gone? Lovely. Alright, well, doesn't matter, Vatry isn't that far off. So let's see, Resno at 1351. That means we can already enter a timer 30 minutes before. So 13, well now it's 1350, so 1320. 1320. No, that's wrong. 1320. Enter, and I do want an oral alert for that as well, because that's the latest point where we've got to file our oceanic clearance. Well, and that's that for the time being. Alright then. So, we are going to do the rest as our flight progresses en route for the time being. Thank you very much for flying along, and then I see you a bit later as we start the approach into Denver. And here we are on the approach to Denver. So I have prepared most of the FMS already. The only thing that's left for us to do is to decide on the brake setting that we want to use, but let me spoil you already. The runway is pretty long over in Denver, so chances are we aren't going to use any auto brake. But let's go ahead and start at the very beginning with the arrival that we've planned. We're following the LE3 arrival, and we're inbound to Huygens, so we're over here on the star. And our continuous routing is going to lead us towards Clipper, and from there onto the ILS approach, runway 16 left. And that's the runway that is currently active in the real world as well. Weather is a little bit interesting over here. If we have a look at this, let's go ahead and update it to be sure that we actually have the latest version available here. And then we can see that our weather currently is a wind of 210, gust 16, highline clouds, 19 degrees, QNH 2972. Now those 19 degrees over here are something that we really shouldn't neglect. Remember, Denver is at an elevation of roughly 5,000 feet. 5.5 to be more precise. So that means the ICAO standard temperature over here would just be plus 4 degrees. Therefore, with 19 degrees, we actually have ISA plus 15. So that equals a temperature effect as if the temperature on the ground would be 30 degrees on a sea level airport. Now, Denver, therefore, currently has a very high temperature and a very high elevation, making it a very interesting airport to approach. Now, let's go ahead and have a look into the actual arrival that we're going to fly. It'll be the ILS approach to runway 16 that we've got in here, starting in 8,000 feet. Minimum is 5,560, and in case of go-around 590 right turn heading 218, intercept the Fox Quebec Fox radial 254 to Bruce, climbing to 12,000. And that's pretty much this. So 12,000 the missed approach altitude, 9.2 the MSA. Okay, so that much for our basics. We're in 14.1 now. That means we're already less than 10,000 feet above the ground. So lights on, signs on. I am gonna go for terrain over here. Even though we can see the Rockies over there. Okay, no, I don't like this. It would never look like this in the real world. Yeah, then let's just go back to weather. That's probably easier. Alright, the landing system can be selected on both sides, and that's it. Okay, so, with all those basics out of the way, let's go for the approach briefing, shall we? So we're inbound to Denver, runway 16 left, LE3 arrival, and minimum 5,560, case of go-arounds, right-hand turn, and another right-hand turn onto the radial 254 outbound Falcon VOR, climbing to 12,000, and we have extra fuel, yes we do have that, for 25 minutes in the form of 2,200 kilograms. Alright, thank you very much. Flight director guided ILS approach runway 16 left, config full, no auto brakes. We'll vacate the runway towards the end. If we have a look at the aerodrome ground shot, we can nicely see runway 16 left over here, vacating somewhere close to the end, maybe Foxtrot 4, but I kind of just want to let it roll, and then we'll go into most likely Golf, and then down south over here to Concourse Alpha, and that's where we're going to park. Stop margin, we do have plenty. I did calculate 1,438 meters margin, and I really don't think we're gonna need any alternate today, so I'm just gonna leave that part out. Alright, any questions? Nope. Threats? Well, yeah, over there. Called the Rocky Mountains. And we see them. MSA 9,200, so that shouldn't be a problem. Alright, if you have no questions, then let's do the approach checklist, please. So, briefing confirmed, minimum Baro 5560, Baro reference QNH 2972. Approach checklist complete. So, I'm off the comm for a moment here to give the passengers a last update of the weather. You have control, your ATC. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from a flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We are now approaching Denver, landing within the next 10 minutes. The weather in Denver, as you can see outside, clear skies, temperature 19 degrees Celsius. Would like to thank you very much for choosing to fly with British Airways today. Hope you have enjoyed the flight as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of the future Airbus A350, A380, or any other fleet service. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope to see you all soon. Alright, I'm back on the radio. No changes, what a surprise. Well then, let's go ahead and continue down to our platform. So that's gonna be 8,000. Descent alt 8,000 blue. So we are now 25 miles out. India Lima Tango Tango. And that's already the correct ident. Localizer is coming in. Now, recently I got a question on my channel, so when exactly can you arm the approach button? So let's take a moment to talk about that. Basically, ICAO gives you two values. One of them is 25 miles, and that's for the localizer signal to be accurate. And that's of course always unless something different is given on the approach chart. Now, the glide slope signal is assured to be valid within 17 nautical miles. However, there are many airports that are going to give you a reliable signal much further out than that. So, as long as the signal is valid in terms of you see a correct and believable indication, then you can use the approach mode. But if you want to be entirely sure, then wait until you're within 25 miles for the localizer and 17 miles for the glide slope. Right, all constraints start, descent blue. The A350-1000 really reminds me of the 777-300ER. It's a super long aircraft, but I think the 350 looks a little bit more sexy, especially with those winglets over here, doesn't it? And we gotta be honest, seeing that A350 here, with the Rockies in the background, that's quite impressive, isn't it? So, glide slope alive, we're at 17 miles now. Plan 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2, glide slope localizer blue. Lock star. Alright, activate approach phase please. And flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So, we're 15 miles out. You might think that it's a little bit early to start to extend those flaps, but the opposite is true. Look at our ground speed here, 230 knots. And we are already capturing the glide slope now, or at least we should, if... Thank you, it's starting to descend now. Go around altitude 12,000 set. And you will notice how difficult it will be to lose that airspeed as we are flying down the glide slope over here. Especially since it started to descend a little bit late. So, one thing that we've always got to pay attention to is whether the DME is actually located at the threshold. In the US, that's not always the case. But we can see down here at 0.2 DME over the runway threshold. So in case of this particular approach, that's fine. But that's always something to pay some attention to when you are flying an approach in the United States of America. They often have a single DME for several runways. And that's typically located somewhere in the middle of the field. Alright, flaps 2. Speed check. Flaps 2. So, you can see we're now at 10 nautical miles, and even though we're just at 185 indicated, our true airspeed is still 210. That's the reason why I've already extended flaps 2, and that is also the reason why I'm gonna go gear down in a few moments when passing 8,000 feet here. But we really gotta keep control of the aircraft. We really gotta ensure our energy management here. So, gear down. If you allow the aircraft to get ahead of you on an approach like this, just go around and try again. The chance to make a hard landing under these conditions is rather high, so really ensure you meet that 1,000 foot gate. Flaps 3.
2,500.
Flap 3. That's checked. Even though the terrain is still rising a little bit, remember field elevation 5,434. Flaps full. Speed checked. Flaps full. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. And landing checklist. Cabin crew, advised, auto thrust, speed, auto brake, off, runway condition, dry, landing checklist complete. Alright. So, ready for a little bit of fun? Look at this. Around 140 knots indicated. Gives us almost 160 knots true airspeed. That's exactly the danger of approaches like this. You're just coming in a lot faster than what you're used to. Okay, manual flight. So, the runway is dead ahead.
$1,000.
Checked. So, in a situation like this, it's favorable to be 5 knots faster than to be 2 knots slower. For this reason, if we keep our speed just above the target, that's actually
500.
quite fine.
400. 100 above.
Checked.
300. Minimum.
Continue.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30.
Retard.
20. 10. 5.
Spoilers, reverse green, decel. So, no manual brakes here. Come on, download your airport map, please. Of course it has to freeze right now because it's downloading that map. Here we go. Alright, manual brakes. 70 knots. And then we can vacate the runway at the very end. So you could really feel how the aircraft continued to descend, even though I flared a tad earlier already. Overall a good landing, but that's something to keep in mind when you do an approach like this one. Alright then, down at 10 knots. Then let's get it off the runway. Now I'm excited to see how the aircraft is gonna taxi because of the high elevation. If we were down at sea level, I would expect it to accelerate in idle, quite a bit actually. However, since we are not at sea level, but at 5,500 feet in a rather warm environment, just look at this, ISA plus 16 down here, I'm rather interested to see how the aircraft is gonna behave. So, lights are set. Flaps coming up, starting APU. Alright then, off to the right hand side. Let's see if we can get the taxi chart live. And here we go. Alright, after landing checklist. After landing checklist complete. So, for our taxi, we're parking over here in Concourse Alpha, therefore we go straight ahead and then left in Alpha November, and then via Alpha November to the gate. And in terms of the gate that we're gonna go to, let's bring up the taxi chart over here, or the parking chart, pardon. It's Alpha 37, and I'm not entirely sure if it's Alpha 37 or Alpha 37 Whiskey, but we'll find out momentarily. So, Alpha 37. No follow me needed, thanks. And handling by, yeah, someone American. Happy with that. Okay, so Alpha November next to the left. Down to 10 knots. So we're approaching the apron. Let's ensure that we don't go too fast over here. Normally it's 15 knots on the apron. Keeping it a tiny bit quicker right now, but the actual apron only starts over there, so that is fine. Alright, Alpha 37 is over here, and we can zoom you in a little bit more as well. Perfect. So, Alpha 3537 is over here, perfect. APU is available, taxi light going out. Then let's cut it a tiny bit. Just gotta ensure that our wings remain in a safe area. Remember, large aircraft. So, we go into the standard line, not onto the whiskey line, so that one over here. Would be lovely if we could actually see a marshaller anywhere. But in the absence of one, let's see if there is anything painted that we can make use of. 7878 over there, A340, 777. Let's go all the way forward onto the 747 marker. Taxi camera would be very nice for this, but I don't think there's someone inside the wall. Look at that. Alright, well, I'm happy with it either way. Let's just park it over here. Okay, brake set, APU bleed on, and engines cut off. So, 8 hours 49. Cabin crew, all doors in park. And then, engines are running down, beacon off, fasten belts off, fuel pumps off, and finally transponder off. Alright, parking checklist please. Exterior lights. Set, park and brake, set, transponder, standby. Parking checklist complete. Well, my friends, and with that, here we are. So, GSX, come on, what are you doing? Here we go. Request deboarding, please. Chocks in a position. Jetway is gonna connect on its own, but with the chocks in, we can release the park and brake. And then a quick check of the fuel used. Even distribution, 55.3 used versus... yeah, 55 tons pretty much, including the taxi fuel. Well, and that's it. Welcome to Denver. I do hope you all enjoyed the flight. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, I'm very much looking forward to them. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.